And welcome back to Kelly's Bar, Mahoney Avenue in Youngstown. This is Yards After Contact. It's a Holy War week, and we've had some guys on here. Don Perlogo with Warren JFK. He's a coach and he coached at Urson and a player. Gave us his little bit of perspective. One game we had talked about. This is Chris Vecchione, graduate of 1980,
88.
88 Cardinal Mooney.
Yeah, 87 football season.
87 season,
State
state
yeah.
champion right here, Cardinal Mooney High School. But interesting, as we were talking before we came on the air, Don was talking about his victory. They were 8-1. You guys were 9-0, but you were just a freshman. So maybe that was your first experience with the Holy War. Can you give us a little bit of idea what you thought? You guys didn't play as a freshman, obviously.
No, we were in the stands, but certainly we were getting a feel for the Mooney mentality on the field, and we looked up to all these guys as freshmen. But we were beat that game, and we were beat at halftime because just being a freshman, and I believe we were losing that game at halftime. I don't know how bad it was.
It was 35-0.
35-0. Yeah, no wonder why these guys looked crushed when they came out of the second half.
Well, that was the final score, but they were probably.
Well, was that 35-0 at halftime though? I don't know what the halftime score was, but nevertheless, at halftime. Myself and a bunch of other players walked out to really, yell at our guys as they're coming out of the tunnel. And we just saw blank faces. And it was very odd to see that out of a Mooney team because it just was shocking to see a team that was beat because they were beat at halftime that year. And then afterwards, those seniors, wow, they were crushed.
How was it on you as a freshman? Was that a formidable experience to help you out in your next three games with them? Motivation, was that game 35-0 final? Did that stick in your craw a little bit?
It definitely did, especially because of the fact that, again, as you're a freshman, you're looking up to these guys as seniors, and you see how this team just crushed them. And you always had that in losses, and they were quite few and far between at Mooney when you had these losses. But when you did, it stuck with you to don't let that happen to you. Don't. In fact, I remember when we were going after my junior year, and we lost a Camel in the playoffs. The seniors that year, don't let this happen to you. And of course, we didn't. We went on to win the state championship my senior year. But yeah, it stays with you.
Yeah. Well, you had a couple good teams in that era since that time. The one team lost the state championship game
to Galleon.
That
was Bo Pelini's senior year.
Okay.
Yep.
You were what, a sophomore in that team?
I was a sophomore. Yep.
How'd you do that year, Urson? Do you remember your old four-year career?
I certainly think we beat Ursuline that year. My memory of being on the sidelines and a cheerleader, because not too many players started or played as a sophomore. They grow more as you're playing in the games. They become more significant. But
your junior year.
Yeah, my junior year, and we did beat Ursuline. Then my senior year, we beat Ursuline as well. We kept, I think, Ursuline scoreless that game, but that wasn't unusual. That year, that was Ron Stoops' last year coaching before he passed on the field at Boardman. Best defense he's ever coached. We only had two teams score a touchdown against us. And I think during the whole year, and this is 14 games with the state championship, we gave up 23 points the whole year. We shout out every team with the exception of Cleveland St. Joe's. They scored a touchdown. Elvis Gerback and Desmond Howard. And then the state game, Thornville Sheridan scored a touchdown, one touchdown. And then I believe Jeff Wilkins from Fitch, he had a field goal, but I've always teased Jeff, it wasn't good. Those officials, it was a homer call. That kid would kick above the uprights for sure. It was left of the upright. It should have been no good, but hey, they got 3 points. We still won that game.
It's Holy War Week. What does that kind of mean from your perspective?
As
a Cardinal Mooney on the Cardinal Mooney side.
Yeah, on the Cardinal Mooney side, Holy War it becomes more important, I think, after you graduate, because when you're playing, every time you're playing a local team, it's big. You know these guys. You know not only the Ursuline guys, the Boardman guys. You know everybody. But
that's without social media now.
Yeah, with social media, that changes everything. We wouldn't be here. But that is certainly it just becomes more apparent after you're a fan. I think I hear people saying, well, Ursuline has air conditioning. Well, they're getting soft because Mooney still doesn't have air conditioning in their school yet. But it just the little things that seem to separate these guys. As a former player, I look at it and I'm like, wow, I still root for you guys most of the year. Not this week. Most of the year I do. But yeah, every game's important. I think these days with this team, I think it's more important because of the fewer local teams.
Okay.
And I heard you guys talking earlier about them wanting to maybe form a Catholic school only league. You know, I don't get that. I don't get why you wouldn't want to play your local teams and local schools. But they're becoming so much more important because there's fewer and fewer games every year.
But Ursuline Mooney's it's special though, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's a week like from your memory? Is it all?
Well, like
is
I said, as a player, especially back then, we were spending a lot of time on the field, on the practice field. So you're just worrying
Coach
about
Butchie,
getting through the practices. But you see everything happening all week. You see the school going nuts. You hear of these practical jokers. Matt Prologo was telling me some of the stories back then when he was a senior. You know, you notice these things. But I think Mooney, at least Coach Butchie, did a tremendous job of not getting us distracted. We really weren't distracted and too involved with a lot of this outside, rivalry. It was just another day of practice, and every game's important.
What's the emotion like? Is it respect? Is there hatred? Is it as a player when you're playing when you're caught up in that series?
Yeah,
what's it like? What's it feel like?
There's emotion. There's not hatred. There's not hatred at all. There's definitely respect. I mean, from a player's perspective, when we played under Coach Butchie, it was about getting the job done. It didn't matter if it was Ursuline, Boardman. Now, the games were important because they were your local schools. The Ursuline-Mooney rivalry, it seemed a lot more important as a school, as a fan base, than maybe it did as a player. So I would say you don't realize it as much while you're playing, but you realize it more afterwards. And as
is there pride in beating your rival, though?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's bragging rights, I mean, William Norris, who came to YSU, who also wanted the number 85, which I was also number 85 at Mooney. I got it, and I think part of the reason is we won that game. So there's definitely bragging rights. I think William Norris couldn't say that he won that game and he deserved number 85. I said that to William Norris myself. So, yeah, absolutely, because you end up playing with these guys. At least, I did going to Youngstown
teammates,
State.
so,
Yeah.
Do you have a special memory? Is there a Mooney Ursuline thing that sticks in your mind at all?
Well, unfortunately, the one you reminded me of earlier, the 35-0, does stick in my mind because I vividly remember those guys going on to halftime. They were beat at halftime. So I remember that. I remember my senior year. I remember playing against Ursuline. I remember winning that game. I remember going against William Norris.
And then you went on to the state title.
Yeah, then we won on the state title. And that's really where the focus was at Mooney. Back then it was the SVC. We had to win the SVC conference and the state title. That was our goal as seniors. And Ursuline was one step towards that goal. And I think that's the case this year too, right?
Yeah, it could be.
I heard you guys talking earlier about a potential Struthers-Mooney matchup.
Potential.
Love to see it.
Yeah, it'd be great. Now
I
you're
had
a
that
local
my
guy,
senior
yes.
year
Now
too,
you're
you
local.
know that. I had that Struthers-Mooney game my senior year.
Was that in the regular season?
That was in the playoffs.
In the playoffs.
John Jarrett.
Yes.
From
nice.
Struthers.
Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State grad. Dom Leone was one of their running backs, and Struthers. We met him at Youngstown State University's field. It was a biased field, although that was having to be
neutral
our home
field.
neutral
Yeah,
field.
yeah.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Having to be our home turf, but it held the fans because there were a lot of fans that came and see that game, as there would probably be this year if they met in the playoffs.
Hopefully
I
they
would
will.
love to see that game.
Hopefully they will. You're
Yeah.
local now, right?
Yes, I am.
Will you
yeah.
be attending the Mooney
Oh,
Ursuline game?
you betcha.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've been at every Mooney home game and every YSU home game this year, so definitely
Well,
enjoy
you're a
it.
Penguin, and once a Penguin, always a Penguin,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and they're
Great.
having a spectacular year. The only team in the country that hasn't given up a defensive
Yeah,
touchdown.
Ohio State just relinquished
Yeah,
one last week.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Now, great memory, real quick. 25 years.
25 years. Yeah.
That went great last week.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Coach Trussell?
Yeah, Coach Trussell. We had dinner at Coach Trussell's house on Friday night. Afterwards, we went to the MVR. Coach Trussell even told us he would not serve alcoholic beverages at his house because he probably couldn't get us out of there. So he let us go to the MVR afterwards and have our fun catching up to everybody. But it was just an awesome week. We had so many guys that came back to celebrate this, and I think we're definitely making our name in our year known in the alumni.
Was that your
stuff.
what? You got a 5th year or 6th year, right?
Yeah,
You were one of those
yeah.
lifers there.
I dream about
Yeah.
the 6th year. I don't think I
Yes.
ever had it, but
Was
it's
that
in my
your last
dreams.
year? I don't remember.
No, that was
numbers don't add up right there.
Yeah, no, that was my 4th
Did you make
year.
93?
I made 92 with the next year was
okay.
my last year
Okay.
because of that
And
medical
you should have
red
won
shirt.
that. You could have won that year.
Yeah, hey.
Nicky Cochran at quarterback.
Yeah, Nicky
Yes?
Cochran, he led us back from 28 nothing,
talk all
tied
day.
it 28-20. Yeah, right.
Almost came back and won it.
Yeah, we lost by a field goal at the
Yeah.
end of the game.
Unbelievable, too.
Yeah,
I was at
yeah.
that game. Wow, great
Yeah.
memories.
It
Well,
was.
thanks, Chris.
It was
Thanks
a
for
good
coming
time.
on,
Gary,
sharing
it was
your
great
Mooney
seeing
Ursuline
you.
thoughts. And
Yeah.
well, I guess we go back a few years,
Yeah,
I guess, when you think about it.
we'll look forward to watching the game this weekend and look forward to hopefully a Struthers Mooney matchup down the road.
Week 12 or 13,
13, yeah.
possibly. But they got to beat Ursuline first, hopefully.
Yes,
Okay.
this weekend.
Well,
it's
thank
on
you.
the agenda. Gary's good.
Chris
seeing you.
Vecchione, Cardinal Mooney, class of 87,
88.
88, okay.
Football season 87.
And we'll be back with more from Kelly's Bar, Youngstown, Ohio, with Yards After Contact.
Hi there, welcome to the Loop. What's be fine for you? There you go.
Welcome back to Kelly's Bar in Mahoney Avenue in Youngstown, Ohio. This is Yards After Contact, and we'll keep the Cardinal Mooney theme here going with Matt Perlogo. Matt, we had Don Perlogo on. He was on the Ursuline side of the equation a little bit ago. How does a Perlogo end up at Mooney after there's a lot of Perlogos at Ursuline, Matt? Can you
Divine
kind of explain
intervention.
this?
Well, there's been a Perlogo at Ursuline since the '60s, I think. But when I had to choose whether to go, what high school to go to, and I was just, I just wanted to go to Mooney for some reason. But I would go to the Ursuline games at Rain Stadium when I was little, and I followed Ursuline. I had all kind of Ursuline gear and everything, and then just in the last minute, and when I was out in Columbiana going to grade school, and my dad said, pick a school, and I just said I want to go to Mooney, and I wanted to play for Coach Butchie. That's basically, and Coach Stoops. That was really the main reason. Was Coach Butchie and Coach Stoops were the reasons really I wanted to go to Mooney.
How much family was on the Ursuline side? It was-
Everybody, every Perlogo, that
so you hear
is
the
in-
Perlogo name, you think Ursuline.
Yeah, exactly. Except
And then you
until
came along.
until I came along. And what was unique was I had a cousin, JP, John Perlogo. He was same age as me, really good football player for Ursuline,
Same grade?
same grade. So we played against each other for 4 years, and that was kind of unique because
Did you guys talk about going to the same school? And why you didn't go to the same school?
no, well, I told him why I didn't go to the same school. I don't think he really wanted me to come to Ursuline, but it worked out great because you know what it did. I know the heated rivalry between Mooney and Ursuline is that a heated rivalry, but my years at Mooney and his years at Ursuline, we kind of intermingled those classes. I mean, he had some great players in his class, Diallo Anderson, Mark Myers, Matt Emsch. I mean, there were some great players. My year, I had Terica Jones, Chucky Marlowe, George Reeder, and we kind of would hang out, on the off season together. We got to know each other a little bit better. But our senior year was the first year that we actually played twice. We played Ursuline in the traditional last game of the season, and then we played him in the first round of the playoffs the next week. and
you claim victory.
but beat them both times, and and it
That's
was
history. You can't change
you
that.
can't change that, and I'm always going to have bragging rights at the holidays, and I always have been bragging for the last however many years.
Put them out of the playoffs.
Put them out of the playoffs
Ruin
and
their season.
ruin their season. And I got to tell you, before that game, the first game, Coach Butchie told my dad.
This is what year?
This was the season of '90. So we graduated in '91, so it was the season of '90. They were big. They were a big ball club. They had Diallo Anderson,
Yeah.
who was
He was on the playbook cover one year.
Right.
Preseason.
right.
1990.
Yeah. And Coach Butchie kind of hinted to my dad that he could take that Ursuline team and go play YSU and beat them. And they were that big. They outweighed us probably 60 pounds a man on the line, and
Was Wolford on that team?
no,
No, he graduated.
Wolford played against Vecchio.
Okay. Well, what's the Holy War, Matt? What does that mean? Why is it special? Is it just, give us some perspective?
I think it's special.
Because it's Youngstown, because it's rivals. What
Yeah.
What is it?
I mean, this goes back to
You
the
lived it.
'60s, because I would hear those stories, and we knew, you as a Mooney guy, and I'm sure Ursuline, that you researched that and you understand what those games meant. North side versus south side, the two Catholic schools. I mean, that's basically what it was about. It's the two Catholic schools. We were, Cardinal Mooney was. They say we are the stepsister of Ursuline because they kind of formed Mooney because of Ursuline was there first, and then they had an influx of with all the steel mills and everything, you had an influx of Catholics, and so you wanted to let's get this other school
In the 60s.
in the 60s, and it wasn't supposed to even last long. It was just kind of like the overflow of Ursuline, and then we ended up taking over basically. I say that because I'll never capitulate to the Ursuline side. I mean, I know my senior year we beat them twice, and I'll take that to the grave.
How'd the rest of the years go? The first 3 years?
Well,
You didn't play as a freshman, obviously.
I didn't play as a freshman, but my freshman year was Chris's Vecchion's senior year,
So
and
you got to see that
I saw that. That was a state championship year.
a little motivation for your career.
Motivation. My sophomore year
And you
was
guys beat Ursuline that year.
no,
Oh,
we
you
didn't.
lost?
We lost to Ursuline in the last second of the game.
Oh, okay.
And that was a bittersweet year because Coach Stoops passed away a few weeks earlier.
Well, he didn't win the state title. That was his junior year.
No, he won the state title his senior year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So that was my freshman year, his senior year.
Okay, gotcha.
And then my sophomore year was that year Coach Stoops passed away.
Okay.
And then about 3 weeks later, we play Ursuline. And it was a down to the wire, last minute questionable call in the end zone touchdown, and we lost. Then my junior year, they flat out beat us, and so there was we were 0-2, and going into the senior year, and then going into my senior year, like I said, we intermingled because JP and I were so close. All of our and we would have cookouts at my house with the Ursuline football team in the summer.